Where on earth do you find a land resplendent with myriad cultures, myriad thoughts and expressions, all harnessed towards the pursuit of excellence? Honors and awards won by Indians have recognized their contribution to a wide range of fields, covering literary and artistic creativity, the sciences, welfare economics, and charity, manifestations of the spirit of India. Dear Sir Rabindranath, I have been trying to find courage to write to you ever since you were in London. This letter may never reach you, for I do not know how to address it. It is nearly 2 years ago that my eldest son went to war for the last time, where he bade goodbye to me with breaking heart. And when his pocketbook came back to me, I found those wonderful words of yours written in his dear writing, with your name on it. Lines from a letter written to Tagore by the mother of Wilfred Owen, the young British poet killed in World War I. Rabindranath Tagore enriched every field of human thought and action. He found in nature a richness that sustained his creativity. I am by nature a poet. Ever since my childhood days, my only vocation was to express my ideas in verses, give shape to my dreams in my poems. I had a natural love for life, for nature. As I grew up, my deepest love for literature and music increased my interest in writing novels and short stories, put music to my poems. Born in 1861 in Calcutta, Tagore's creative soul was not content with producing literature. He sought means to carry his joy in nature to the life of his people, to mold a whole new generation with a special feeling for nature. In Shantiniketan, he set up a school in the lap of nature and turned into a teacher, teaching through songs and dances, games and rituals, and through poetry.
কিরণে হলো সবদিক উজালা কি প্রতিমা দেখি জোছনা মাখি কে রেখেছে আঁকি আমরি কমল পুতলা একই একই স্থির চপলা.
His life with nature and the growing children, the seamless continuity of the life process that he discovered, went into the making of Gitanjali, a whole series of new poems, a selection of which appeared in an English translation in November 1912 as Gitanjali, an offering of songs. In 1913 wrote W.B. Yeats to Tagore, "These lyrics, full of untranslatable delicacies of color, of material invention, display in their thought a world I have dreamt of all my life long." In the years that followed, Rabindranath traveled extensively, meeting and exchanging notes with the greatest minds of his time. With the positions he took on various issues of national and international concern, and his commanding presence with his sharp features, intense eyes, clear voice, and in his dark flowing robes, he fast grew into an icon that people adored and looked up to. In 1930, in a historic dialogue, Tagore told Albert Einstein, "This world is a human world. The scientific view of it is also that of a scientific man. The eternal, we know it as truth. We feel it as beauty." Around the same time, on a visit to Russia, he seemed to have discovered a model for a society concerned with the needs of the people and seeking progress through the dissemination of education. But as the war clouds gathered and the freedom struggle in India entered a critical phase, Tagore sought to look beyond the darkness to the birth of a new universal man. He tried to articulate his concerns and his vision in a desperate spurt of creativity, bursting forth in a flood of paintings, daringly unshackled verse. Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments of narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depth of truth. One day, I was sitting for a portrait to be drawn by Homi Jahangir Bhabha. I told Bhabha it is a picture of a scientist by a scientist. Bhabha denied. It is a picture of an artist by an artist. Yes, I believe a scientist is also an artist. He constantly draws pictures in his mind. Born in 1888 in Tiruchirappalli, in his very first experiments and investigations in Calcutta, C.V. Raman sought answers to some of those primary questions one asks in the presence of nature. On his way back from his first visit to Europe by sea in the autumn of 1921, Raman was fascinated by the deep blue of the Mediterranean. The color of the water, he knew, was simply the reflection of the sky. But the question remained, what was it that diffracted the light and made its passage visible? For the next 2 years, Raman studied the scattering of light like an obsession. He made a spectrograph and found that a transformation occurs when ordinary light has been scattered by matter. When light of one frequency is transmitted through a spectrum, other frequencies characteristic of the material are added. These frequencies are equal to the infrared frequencies of the material and are caused by the exchange of energy between light and material. This is now known as the Raman effect. Raman's first findings have been a great contribution to quantum mechanics and the development of physical chemistry. Unlike many scientists who tend to limit their scientific investigations to a closed area, Raman moved freely from one area to another, covering in his work in Bangalore the problems of the reflection of light within crystals and its scattering, the dynamics of atoms, and finally, the physics of music. Sounds and sights and nature constituted Raman's universe. I I did some work on the color perception that comes out of natural reflection on birds and butterflies. This brought me close to nature once again. To me, science is a philosophy, and art as the scientists do with it. February 10th, 1964. Just received a letter from my friend. He is very keen to know about my recent studies in microbiology. He appears quite interested in publishing my paper. I know the time has not come yet. January 22nd, 1965. It is very cold in Madison for the last few days. I am passing through some exciting days, just feeling the ecstasy of a scientific discovery. January 24th, 1965. It was a hectic day. Had a session with the students in the morning. Lunch only follows a visit to the lab. My recent findings on synthesis of polynucleotide with known base sequences has now taken a definite shape. Born in 1922 in Raipur, West Punjab, Har Gobind Khorana found his place in the history of science only in the laboratories of Wisconsin University in Madison in those magical days of the mid-60s. Little had been achieved since Gregory Mendel a century ago in the field of genetics in which Khorana was engaged. Marshall Nirenberg and R.W. Holley in the USA were busy seeking ways to synthesize the genes with their known base sequences. But it was left to Khorana to decipher the genetic code and create an artificial gene for the first time. More sensational later developments in molecular biology, and particularly in cloning and identifying genetic identity, owe their beginnings to the pioneering discovery of Khorana.
After having succeeded in so many ways in nucleic acid chemistry and nucleic acid molecular biology, including the synthesis of the first biologically active gene, tyrosine transfer RNA, Khorana decided to switch and to work in the field of membranes, and he worked then on bacterial rhodopsin and opsin, the molecules that are so important for vision. A few years ago, I was chairman of a session at a meeting in Hokkaido that honored Khorana. And Khorana gave the last lecture and a keynote lecture of the meeting. And I have never seen anyone so enthusiastic and so young talking about his research and about the fact that he's now ready to switch another time to a different area of research. And he, in the meantime, has done this and continued to work on the physiology and no longer the strict biochemistry of vision. And it's simply amazing to see that someone who was educated under a tree in Punjab rose to be such a scientist who can switch fields so many times and make an absolutely indelible contribution to each field he enters.
Stationed at present at the MIT laboratories at Boston, Dr. Har Gobind Khorana is engaged in investigations on RNA and DNA from E. coli, a gene with 126 nucleotide base pairs. As the world waits for yet another breakthrough discovery. My dear Father, I wish to post this letter to you only after reaching London, which is still 18 days away. You thought that my long voyage would be boring, but frankly and fortunately, I am a human being. I can taste the romance of my first trip to London on the way to Cambridge. I am passing through sleepless nights, sitting alone on the deck, watching all the night the insensate stars up above the sky. On a sea, I can get equally limitless sky, splendid to watch. As the days pass by, I'm even more convinced of the theories I believe in. I'll talk to my professor at Cambridge about my conviction. Subrahmanyan Chandrasekhar was born in 1910 in Lahore of pre-partition India. He was 18 when he was trying to develop new theories in astrophysics. Early in life, Chandrasekhar asked himself, what will be the outcome of the different phases of matter in the form of gas, liquid and solid if enormous matter is related to a high increase of temperature? He soon came up with an answer that has come to be known as the Chandrasekhar limiting mass. Chandrasekhar established that if a star is more than nearly 1.5 times the mass of the Sun, then no pressure can support it ultimately against gravitational collapse. This theory lies at the basis of several developments in modern astrophysical research, including the discovery of pulsars and X-ray stars. Chandrasekhar's 2 treatises on stellar structure and the dynamics of its systems are only 2 of the outstanding works that form part of his treasure house of original papers produced at Cambridge and Chicago.
A fundamental motivation in the pursuit of science has to be aesthetics and the innate beauty in science. And he was motivated by Francis Bacon, who said, there is no beauty which has no strangeness in proportion. So he was extremely sensitive to aesthetic beauty in science. He was a very mathematically oriented scientist, not an intuitive scientist. But to him, mathematics was not just a set of equations. He would compare a formula of Ramanujan with a bust of a sculpture of Michelangelo or a string quartet of Beethoven. So you have to have listened to him expound on these things to really appreciate how complete a man was.
C.V. Raman described Chandra as an artist of science who felt feathered in the confines of science and complained, my dear friend, one of the unfortunate facts about the pursuit of science, the way I have done it, is that I had to sacrifice other interests in life, literature, music, and traveling. I wanted to read all the plays of Shakespeare very carefully, line by line, word by word. I know I could have been a different person had I done this. I don't know if regret is the right term for what I feel, but sooner or later one has to reconcile to those losses. Had this happened, the mysterious world of space beyond the universe may still have remained shrouded in mystery. What is peace? A precise definition still eludes us. But to Mother Teresa, all works of love are works of peace. A little child in the mother's womb is a human being from the moment of conception. Let us pray to help that little child to be born. Let us pray to provide shelter for the homeless, food for the starving, and comfort for the dying. In 1929, she arrived in Calcutta as a novice of the Loreto to the missions in India. Her very first exposure to poverty in this naked horror drove her into an activism in charity that began with her setting up of the Missionaries of Charity. Followed by the Nirmala Shishu Bhavan, an orphanage for unwanted and abandoned children.
Make us worthy, Lord, to serve our fellow men throughout the world.
Her Nirmal Hriday and Premdan gave shelter to dying persons who are left neglected on roadsides. She also opened a number of homes for the lepers all over the world.
Give peace and joy.
Missionary, a perfect humanist, a symbol of goodwill and selflessness. To many, Mother Teresa was a living saint. Her mother's lifelong zeal for charity has brought her close to sainthood, a saint for the next century and beyond. The light Teresa lit up for the poor, the orphans and the destitutes still shines, immortalizing her message of sympathy, love, service, and sacrifice. Behind Amartya Sen's credo of economics with a passionate human concern lies the childhood memories of a 10-year-old who bore witness to the terrible man-made famine of 1943-44 in Bengal. Sen's theory of poverty and famine is deeply related to his capability theory. A higher trend in national income itself does not guarantee the increase of the capability of the poor people to enjoy material comforts. Their capability would increase only if quantitative and qualitative levels of public utility services like education, public health, food, and nutrition also improve. It is with his fresh concern for the human condition itself that Sen brings back the responsibility of government in generating, monitoring, and developing welfare services, and ensuring freer access for the people to the services that need to be aimed at the improvement of the standard of living. Sen had happy memories and experiences too of schooling in the sylvan settings of Shantiniketan, designed by Tagore. The academic challenges he negotiated with as a student, researcher, and teacher at Presidency College, Calcutta. At Trinity College, Cambridge, where he is now the master.
Two most important factors that explain the differences in the gender differential in mortality among children are one, female education and literacy, and two, female employment opportunity, gainful employment for wages. Now, both these, as you can see, increases the bargaining power of women within the family, as it were, raises the status of women. Women become paid earners when they have a job outside rather than being dependent, quote unquote, in the peculiar sense in which the term is used. And similarly, literacy and education gives women a voice, more articulate voice, more respected because of the education they acquire. And also, schooling also serves as exposure to the rest of the world. It's remarkable that not only gender bias in mortality, but in fact, overall infant and child mortality is also most affected by female literacy. That is the most important influence on it.
The Gender Development Index is a worthwhile supplement to the main index. These indices are only one of the many signs of the revolution in economic thought that Sen has launched. A revolution recognized by his motherland with the award of its honor, the Bharat Ratna. All these 6 personalities have served in their distinctive ways to add to the wealth of civilization, and extended the frontiers of knowledge and thought, and carried forward the mission of the ancient civilization to which they belong and which has nurtured them. The Nobel Prizes awarded to them have been an acknowledgement of India's intellectual and spiritual genius, expressing itself through the individual achievements of the 6.